Hello everybody, welcome to my Sky Diary for December 2020. Let's see the back of 2020 and get into 2021 for much better times. So let's have a look what's going to be up and coming for the next month. Of course, this is all available online on my Sky Diary, which is available on TeamUp. So if you go to star-gazing.co.uk/diary, you can see my Sky Diary with all the dates I'm going to give you on here. And it's available as an app, so if you download the app and install the calendar as on the website, you'll be able to carry it around with you. So as I add new dates, you'll be able to take them around with you all the time. Okay, so it's star-gazing.co.uk/diary. So carry it around with you. Okay, so let's look at the month ahead. If we're looking at the moon, the middle of the month is going to be for all you deep sky folks when the skies are going to be at the darkest. So middle of the month here, that's when moon's going to be out of the way. Yep. And then towards the beginning and end of the month is when the moon's going to be a lot brighter. So that's when I'm going to be getting the hydrogen alpha stuff going again, which is working out really well at the moment. So that's good. Anyway. So, of course, Mars is rapidly shrinking now. Opposition was on the 13th of October. And, of course, as we went throughout the year from January to July, that's how much bigger it got as the distance between Earth and Mars decreased. So there's a reasonable image I got on the 8th of August. And in September, that's about my best image I got of it. The trouble was, every other time I went out there, despite the fact that Mars was bigger in October when it was at opposition, I didn't get quite a good image because the conditions weren't quite as good, etc, etc, etc. So September was about my best image of it, and of course it's now starting to shrink away. November and December, you can see just how much smaller it's going to get as the distance between the Earth and Mars increases. So it's been at its best, and it's not going to be as big as that until 2035. So it's going to be another 2 years before it comes back to opposition, but it's not going to be as big as it was this year. So there's my last image I took on the 6th of November. And then I've put together a list of, or a series of images to show it rotating. And I'm probably in the way of the last few, but never mind. So this is the path that Mars went through this year. It's going to be around for quite a while. So that's where it was on the 1st of August in Pisces. And you see it's gone off in that direction. And then by the 10th of September, as the Earth overtook it, it appeared to go backwards because this is the Earth's orbit or the Earth's motion superimposed on Mars's. And then 1st of October, 13th of October, so that's where it was at opposition, just here. And then as it came around, it started to slow down again and then started to come out of what we call retrograde motion to go back to its proper motion again. And this is where it's going to be for the rest of the year. So it's a little bit higher than it was before, but it is going to be a lot smaller. So it is going to be more difficult to image and view details on the surface. But, you know, there's still scope to get some yet. And then middle of the month, that's where it's going to be. Christmas Day, it's right by this group of galaxies here. And then the 31st of December, there it is as well. It's going to be around for a lot longer. So don't give up on it yet. We're going to be seeing it for months on end, but it's not going to be as good telescopically or image-wise for a long time now. So, you know, keep looking because it is going to be there. Okay, of course, after dark, once it gets dark, Jupiter and Saturn are still visible. So this is the view on the 15th of the month, looking towards the southwest at about 5 o'clock in the evening, because Jupiter was at its best on the 14th of July. So there's Jupiter, and next to it is Saturn, and they're getting closer and closer together. They're both moving in this direction, but because Jupiter is closer to the Sun than Saturn, it's moving faster. So Jupiter will be overtaking Saturn, and that's good news because as they move in that direction, they're getting a little bit further north along the ecliptic. So over the next few years, both Jupiter and Saturn should start to get a little bit higher in our sky. So we should be able to see them a little bit easier than they have been the last number of years. So here's an image of Jupiter showing the dark belts and the bright zones because it's a gas giant. We just see the gas surface, the cloud surface on there. And this is a bit of a better one taken in July a couple of years ago. and you can see the cloud belts, you can see the zones, and you can see the red spot. And the red spot transits are really good to look out for, so have a look out for those. But they are getting more and more difficult as Jupiter gets more and more nestled into the twilight. And here you can see a very nice satellite shadow transit. So this is a shadow of Io. This is the nearest moon to Jupiter, called Io, and that's actually casting a shadow on the planet. So you can watch those quite nicely, but a bit more difficult is the actual satellite transits themselves, because they are near enough the same brightness and colour as Jupiter, and so they're a little bit more challenging to see against the surface of the planet, especially deep in the twilight as they're going to be now. But have a look. And of course Saturn is up near Jupiter at the moment. Saturn was at its best at opposition on the 20th of July, so it's not at its best now. It's getting a bit low into the twilight, so it's getting a bit more of a challenge. And of course the rings, this is a picture taken in 2018, and you can see that the rings are actually sticking up above the surface of the globe, so they're really wide open. But in the last 2 years we've noticed those starting to close. So here's an image I took on the 20th of September, and you can see that the disk of the planet is now actually sticking above the level of the rings. So the rings are starting to close up as Saturn goes around in its orbit, and we will see those get narrower and narrower over the next few years. So here's an image I took in 2007, and you can see the rings are much further closed than they are at the moment. And then this is a really bad one when I had a really bad telescope that wasn't good for planets at the time, and you can see these are almost edge on, these rings. There's a bit of colour effect there, but you can see that the rings are a lot more edge on than they are at the moment, and that's going to be in a few years time. That's the situation that Saturn will get in, but it's going to take a few years to get there yet. So you should be able to see that next year. Once it appears, they should be a little bit narrower, so keep an eye out for that. We have a comet in the sky at the moment called Comet Atlas C 2020 M3, and this is the path that it's taking across the sky. You see it's heading north. It was discovered in June 2020. It is heading north, and it's around about 8th magnitude. I think it was touching 7 now, so it's, you know, a little bit brighter than it was, and that's about as bright as it's going to get. It's not going to get much brighter. So just to give you a bit of orientation here, so here's the 3 belt stars in Orion's belt. So this is the constellation of Orion. This is the bright star Rigel. Betelgeuse, the bright red star in Orion's right shoulder, and Bellatrix, the bright star in his left shoulder. This is Taurus the Bull. This is the red star Aldebaran in the Hyades star cluster, and in the northern horn of the Bull you've got this bright naked eye star Nath. And then this is the constellation of Auriga, the charioteer, and the bright star Capella up there. So it's moving in that direction. So let's have a look and see where it's going to be. So this is where it was on the 31st of October. On the 3rd and 4th of November it's very close to Rigel, and then 10th and 11th of November is roughly in line with the belt of Orion, and it passed Bellatrix on the 15th and 16th of November, and then the 26th of November it passed into the horn of the Bull, so it's within Taurus at the moment. 4th of December it's going to be near the bright star Nath, and then 1st of January it's going to be up near the very bright 1st magnitude star Capella. So let's have a look at where it's going to be over the next month. So Taurus, here it is, Taurus the Bull. This is the Hyades star cluster. This is the Pleiades, of course. And this is the bright star Nath. And this is the path of the comet coming through during the month. And here's where it is, or here's where it was on the 26th of November. And you can see it just passed into the horn of Taurus there. And this is Messier 1, the Crab Nebula. It's not going to go anywhere near there. And I haven't seen any images of people taken with that in the same wide field of view. So that's a bit of a shame. 1st of December, it's going to be here. So it's a little bit further north. So it's just above halfway between the two horns of the bull. And on the 4th of December, it's going to be very close to Nath, just to the right-hand side of this bright star Nath on the 4th of December. And then as it progresses, of course, it goes through Auriga, the charioteer, and then passes close to Capella. So here's Nath again. So here's where it is on the 4th of December. So throughout the month of December, it passes through Auriga. It passes some of these Messier clusters here, but not too closely, which is a bit of a shame. And so mid-month, it's going to be right in the middle of this kite-shaped constellation. And then on the 1st of January, New Year's Day, it's going to be very close to Capella. And if you look here, you can see these are 5-day intervals, and you can see how far that comet has moved, because it's actually closer to Earth and the Sun at that point, so it's moving fairly close. Its apparent motion is much quicker. And as we get towards the end of December, you can see that these marks get closer and closer together. So the apparent motion of the comet is getting much smaller. So as it moves away from the Sun and moves away from Earth, it starts to apparently move slower in the sky. And of course, it will have faded by this time, but how bright it's going to be, who knows? It's a comet. They behave exactly how they want to. We're certainly not going to get anything like we did during the summer when we had Comet Neowise. That was absolutely fantastic. So we're not going to get anything like that, but I hope we don't have to wait another 25 years to get a spectacular comet like this. But who knows? They're not there for us. They're just there to enjoy when they do occur. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the notable dates during the month. Venus is still visible early in the morning sky. So you've got to get up fairly early to look for that, but it's only visible for really the beginning of the month. Towards the end, it's going to get a bit more difficult. So here it is on the 1st of December, about 10 to 7 in the morning. You see Venus here. Mercury was visible in the morning sky a week or two ago, but it's now too close to the Sun, so it's not going to be seen. And of course, this spring and summer, we had Venus looking absolutely fantastic. And so nice to reminisce about Venus as it changed, the aspect of it changed. As it went almost between us and the Sun, it got thinner, it got bigger as it approached the Earth, and then came up to inferior conjunction, and then came out the other side. So that was really, really good. It's going to be a good few years before I'm able to capture something like that again. And I took all these images during the day, but of course, only do that if you really do know what you're doing and got the proper filters if you're anywhere near the Sun, because you don't want to be destroying your telescope, or worse still, destroying your eyesight. Okay, so on the 1st of the month, Jupiter and Saturn, if you look towards the southwest after it gets dark, this is about 5:45 in the evening, and you can see the two bright objects hovering there in the southwest, because the brightest one is Jupiter and the one to the left is Saturn. And as I said, they're going to get closer together, and there's a great conjunction towards the end of the month, which I'll talk about when we get there. On the 3rd of December, about 11 o'clock at night, you'll see the moon, quite a thick gibbous moon, and you'll see it close to Castor and Pollux. So the top one is Castor and the bottom one is Pollux. 4th and 5th of December, the moon is close to Praesepe, Messier 44, the beehive cluster, but because it's quite a thick gibbous moon still, that's going to swamp out quite a number of the members of that star cluster. And then the 12th of December, we've got a very thin crescent moon close to Venus in the morning sky. This is about 7 o'clock in the evening, and you can see just how thin that moon is. There's Venus, very, very bright, but it is getting really close to the horizon now. So we're going to start losing it. But that should be an absolutely lovely sight. If you've got a good southeastern horizon, you should be able to see Venus, and you should see the moon, and that should have some wonderful earth shining on that, making an absolutely lovely sight down on the southwest. And then the next day, the 13th of December, there's an even thinner moon visible, but you do have to go out a little bit later so that the moon rises, and you see just how thin that moon is. But it's going to be difficult in the twilight. This is around about 7:26 in the morning. Venus will be really, really bright, so that will help guide the way to the moon, and you should see this very, very slender crescent. with beautiful earth shine if you can see it in the twilight. So that'll be worth looking out for. And by the end of the month, Venus is going to be virtually lost, and that doesn't reach superior conjunction on the other side of the sun until next March. So we're going to lose Venus for a long time now, up until March, April, May time even, so before it appears back in the evening sky. And that actually reaches greatest elongation towards the end of October next year. So it's, you know, it's going to be visible for quite a while throughout next year in the evening sky. So look out for that. And it actually reaches inferior conjunction on the 9th of January 2022. So that series of images that I took, I don't think they're going to be possible around that time because it's going to be so low in the daytime sky. I'm not going to be able to capture those pictures like I did early summer. 13th and 14th of December, we have the maximum of the Geminid meteor shower. And meteors can appear anywhere, what we call sporadics. But every now and again get meteor showers where the Earth goes through a comet orbit where there's lots and lots of dust. So the Earth intercepts that dust, and as they come in as meteors, we see them. And we know they're part of a shower because if you trace the path back, what you'll do, you will find that it points to this part of the sky. Now draw the line back, and if it points to that sky, that area of the sky in Gemini, just next to Castor and Pollux, we know it's a Geminid meteor shower. And that's active between the 4th and the 17th of December. So it's active for quite a while. But the maximum is on the 13th and 14th, or the early hours of the 14th of December. And that's got what we call a zenithal hourly rate of 100 meteors per hour. But of course, you're not going to see 100 per hour. It will probably be about 60 or 70 per hour, so 1 a minute, say. But this is quite a well-known meteor shower. It's probably one of the best of the year, apart from the Perseids, and so they do leave some nice bright trails. So hopefully we should get a good show. And the moon's new on the 14th, so it's well out of the way, so it's not going to interfere with our observing of the meteors. And talking of new moon, there is a total solar eclipse, but we're not going to be able to see it. It's only visible in the South Pacific, South America, Chile and Argentina, and the South Atlantic. So here's the path here. So this is South America, and this is the path coming across, hitting South America, Chile and Argentina, and then off, and it almost but not quite reaches the coast of Africa, just on the edge of the globe here. So they will see a very, very small partial, but yeah, you have to be in Chile and Argentina or somewhere along in the ocean here to see it distinctly. Okay, Neptune's visible in Aries. It was at opposition in September, but this shows the position of it mid-month. You can see it here. It's not far from Mars. Mars is just here in Pisces. And here's where Uranus is in the sky. So get out there. You can just about see it with binoculars, maybe. It's magnitude 5.7. It's in the constellation of Aries. And there it is there. On the 15th of December, I've put this mid-month, Uranus is still visible in Aries. It's magnitude plus 5.7. It was at opposition in September. So let's just get your bearings around where we are. Here's Taurus over here with the Pleiades and the Hyades star cluster. This is Pisces, and of course, Mars isn't too far away. This is Aries where Uranus is. Cetus, the whale or the sea monster, and of course this is where Mars is on the 15th of December. And here's where Uranus is. It's not actually that far away from Mars. In fact, Mars will actually go past Uranus next year, so we will be hopefully be able to see them in the same field of view. So Uranus, being magnitude plus 5.7, potentially is naked eye. but you do need fairly dark skies to be able to see it. It is visible in binoculars, and you can pick it up in a small telescope, but you need quite a large telescope to actually see a small disk. So get out there and give it a go. 16th to 17th of December, in the southwestern sky, you have a lovely thin crescent moon appearing in the evening, and of course you can see Jupiter and Saturn are very close together by this time. So there's the thin crescent moon on the 16th. This is about 10 to 5 in the evening, but you should see a wonderful thin crescent with Earthshine shining on the disk as well. And then the next night, the moon's a bit thicker, it's a little bit higher up in the sky. Jupiter and Saturn are just that little bit closer together. And again, this is about 10 to 5 in the evening on the 17th of December. And then, of course, the 21st of December, which is the winter solstice, so the sun's at its lowest in the sky. So from that point, the days are going to start getting longer, nights are going to get shorter. But if you look towards the southwestern sky at about 5 p.m, you'll see a really, really bright star there. Of course, it's not just one bright star, it's the two planets together. The moon by this time has moved a little bit further away. But if you look a bit closer at that, you can see here's the moon. It's that bright object. Of course, it's Jupiter and Saturn really, really close together. And they're in conjunction on this evening as Jupiter overtakes Saturn on its way along the ecliptic. And of course, we look a little bit closer. There they are. You can just about see them starting to separate from each other. But if you've got binoculars or a small telescope, you might be able to zoom in, and this is the sort of view you could get down in the twilight. So here's Jupiter and here's Saturn, and they're shown at about the scale they would be seen through binoculars or a small telescope. So you should get them in a nice field of view quite nicely. It is going to be a challenge, but have a look out for the moons as well, because you can see those. So Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. There are some background stars, but they're going to be a real challenge. But the other big challenge is, of course, it's going to be Titan as well. So see if you can see those, but definitely have a look out on the 21st to see if you can see Jupiter and Saturn really, really close together. They're not going to be that close together now for a few hundred years. So get out and have a look at it. Okay, 26th and 27th of December, the moon, just approaching full, is going to be close to the Pleiades and the Hyades. And here it is on the 27th, so it's moved through between the Pleiades and the Hyades, and it's now within the horns of Taurus, the bull. And 28th of December, there's a great opportunity to be able to see Mare Orientale. That's its huge impact crater on the surface of the moon. Of course, it's just over the edge of the moon, so it's really, really difficult to see. And quite often we don't see that. But here's an image that I took on Luke Jerram's Museum of the Moon, and you see it's absolutely fantastic impact structure. And you see this dark ring, and you can see this Mare Basin here, and you can see this dark area here. And this crater over here is the crater Grimaldi. So here's an image that I took of it. So this is the sort of typical view that you see. So if you can identify this line going down here, is the same as this one down here. This bit here is this bit here, and this is Grimaldi, which is this crater here. And I'm not sure what that one's called, but I should look it up. Is that one? So you can see just what you get when you look at that. But libration, the moon actually wobbles, so sometimes we look around the disk and sometimes it wobbles the other way. So we do see quite a bit of the moon, and it's not just all pointed in the same direction. It does wobble slightly in relation to the Earth. So we do look around the corner a little bit, and when that libration brings it into view, you can see a little bit further into the feature. So here it is. You can just about see. This is a lot further away from the limb of the moon. You can see these mountains have started to appear above the limb of the moon as well, and you can almost see a hint of that dark circular depression right in the middle. And here's another one I took a little while ago, and you can see that quite nicely there, and that's starting to come into view. And the favourable libration, although it's the 28th of December, It's not going to be visible until after full moon on the 30th. So that's when you want to really have a look for it, on the 30th. Okay. And this is a view taken on the 28th of October, when there was a really favourable libration, and you can really see into that impact ring there, that impact basin right in the centre there. Okay, so that's about it for the month. Don't forget, the Sky Diary is available on TeamUp, stargazing.co.uk/diary. All the dates are on there. So I hope you enjoyed the Sky Diary. If you have, give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Bye.